Yo guys, in this game of Age of Empires 4, I faced the feared town center rush of the Mongols, where they scoot up and they unpack and they pack their town center right next to yours, and then they start firing arrows at your villagers. It can be very frustrating to face this, and a lot of people are facing this right now. And I'm aware of this build, so I try to be ready mentally and change my build a bit, where I'm not too much behind against macro, but I'm still in an okay position if it's macro. But if he is doing the rush with the town center, then I can at least prepare against it. Well, let's see how I do. And let me know how it goes for you if you face the same thing and you try to apply some of the principles that I show in this game. GOHF. Is he actually Mongol? Is this Mongol, guys? Yes. Any TC rushers? I want to have an opening that can counter the Mongols without messing up if he plays macro. Don't make a great wall to go around. Yeah, I know. I want to have a not terrible... I want to have a deficit, but a not terrible opener if he's not rushing. A deficit is fine. You bastard. You love to see it. Did I kill his Khan or not?
新前量，停车，勉强就可。准备，
面亮机明白。
起立，分量，起立。
村民，
一数。准备，羊毛边。
村民，
羊毛边。
过意，不尊重。
免费。
羊毛起立，勉强就可。命令句，
准备就一人。
面
亮去，张眼。
羊毛边，那可以。
面包。
前吧。
面亮，
前进。
前进。
准备，配在，前进。那可以。
骑马去。
面亮机，
命令来如。
一再停一停。停场。
停好。
停好，来吧，停好。是的。
挺好。走，面亮。
明白。有没有走？你那可以。明白。走。一动作，兄弟们。现在。
停好，跟讲。
有没有勉强就有没有？
嘿，
当我
现在停好。当主动起来。
是的。
左一拿开流。
面亮当年。
准备起来。左杀。
嘿。当年。
有没有？
嘿。
住所。
停好。拿去前进。
妇女战役。
挺好。
起立。
面亮。数军。
停场啊！
命令行。
停好，转免费。嘿，
村民吃饭。
有没有变？
你输。
命令来如。
停好。
有没有变？在一起。
住所。断草。
有没有？
命令记得。没跟讲，动起来。拿开流。嘿，
攻击
挺好。
有没有变？新前有没有变？攻
免费。
有没有变？一丢丢。准备，是的。
面包前进。我记得。
有没有变？
一输。
攻击一助手。有没有准备？有没有将就可？有没有变？
那这样。
停进桌。
村民等待中，他们正在移动，他们动心了。走，住所，他们正在移动。
有没有变？兄弟们，向前推进。
挺好。
有没有变？在一起。可吧，这边。兄弟们，向前推进，一刀准备拿
面亮。
明白。
住所。免费。
有没有变？可吧，这边。
面亮。起码萌萌的，他们免费。
有没有变？你就是。
挺好。
准备，有毛边。
面亮。挺好。免费。去住所。走。住所。
有没有变？你就是。
挺好。面亮。
有没有变？蓝边。
挺好。
有没有变？那准备战略。
起立。工作中。
有没有变？在一起。明白。有没有？你等着，兄弟们。
住所。拿坏免费。免费。村民就他们正在移动。静。
啊，停进桌。
必须等着，兄弟们。
村民。
有没有变？勉强就可。
面亮。
有没有变？在一起。
住所，俺们。
面亮。
有没有变？你就是。有没有变？一刀，有毛病，金马奇是的。那有没有明白？有没有变？你就是。
住所。骑马机。
准备，有没有变？战略。
啊，明白。
有没有变？移动中。
奏效，牙旗自戳。
点秒变，领军
听客兵，拿去了。
点秒变，在点秒变，移动中，兄弟们，点秒变，你就是。点秒变，在起，
听客兵，记得
点秒变，
骑马骑，
命令军准备就军移动。
牙旗就戳。啊？啊？苗北。
人必就绪，听进中。明白。
点秒
提出，提恩中。
准备点秒变，是的。
命令进。
This mother trucker.
村民等，
点秒变，
听客兵，拿记得。
村民就绪。
准备点秒变，
人必就绪，
缅北，
点秒变，
你说。提恩东，
村民一等，走吧，村民。这领村民明白。村民吃饭。村民一等，骑马去，领进。
命令进。
点秒变，移动，点秒变，
听客兵，记得。
骑马起就跳。
点秒变，连上去，
你说。
点命令军，
明白。
明
村
白。
民记得。
命令。
准备点秒变，点秒变，
听客不准。
挺好，此度进去。
点秒
命令
村民，
村民，
来
准备点秒变，
准备奏效。
点秒变，
人必就绪，
命令，
准备点秒变，
听客兵明白。
点秒变，你就是
村民就绪。
村民们目的，准备奏效。村民就绪。村民等待中。住宿。
点秒变，
Wow, one villager looks like many villagers look like one.
新钱来吧，
挺好。
请点秒
命令进。
住宿，
人们，
骑马去。村民就绪。缅北，
骑就骑你，明白？军马就
缅北，
新钱两个吧，这边，明白？准备个吧，这边，人们，
明白。牙旗就
命令移动中，
明白。
你说。
点秒变，
Really? Is he surrounded?
拿破仑。
军马，点秒变在
You cheeser, get out of my game!
明白？
I'm sorry, but not today, mate.
点秒变，一丢丢，
He does have another landmark.
点秒变，走，点秒变，点秒变，
骑马去。
点秒变，
Wait, how did he remake it?
兄弟们，
What the hell is that? How is he remaking it?
等待。
点秒变正就停，
人必
What was that?
点秒变。
Did you just waste money on that or what?
准备就绪。
住宿。
点秒变，在起，
Oh, it's just an animation of the landmark dying. Okay.
你说。
点秒变，命令来路，
Wow, this boar actually saved me big time.
动作，兄弟们，
挺好。骑马去。
命令军，
So he has one more landmark. Is it? Oh, he went feud. Oh my god. He can make archers now. It's not over yet, guys. Far from it.
点秒变，点秒变，在
命令明白。
准备，点马上就去，
We need to age up.
命令。
听好。
点秒变，
命令。
点秒变，人量，
听好，看早东，
准备，
点人币就绪，
注射，
点命兵，
命令击，危险，
速速，
停车点，
So, what you got, mate?
准备，点命那卡点命克吧，
You got nothing! You got nothing!
准备点个球看给的，
Okay, he's got something, but it's all pikemen.
兄弟们，
你属肯定中，
He's chasing the wrong thing.
点命兵移动，进吧去，
命令，
点命兵，点命兵，
停车点，击，
点命，
骑马骑，
准备好，
命令了，
丢丢丢丢。
那就去吧。
嘎子准备当毛兵，当毛兵，点准备，有给点，
就卡质量，
嘎子准备好。
I think I have enough, but
QQ，羊毛，平均准备当毛兵，拿来，嘎子准备当毛兵，
点停查评，
half his pikemen are following the wrong thing.
嘎子准备好，野毛兵，
I'm officially safe now at my proxy boar location.
准备，准备好，
被就绪，肯定中，
是当毛兵，平均，我已经准备好，有给节目，当毛兵，听到了，拿回你，是，准备点进去，准备好，是，准备这个 Q， 当毛兵，当毛兵，点心，当毛兵，准备好，是，当毛兵，准备。
你丢就去，当然可以，
GG. Let's go. Let's go. Post this on YouTube to save lives. Well, I will say I made some concessions to be able to defend against it, but I think you've got to. But I didn't make barracks until I confirmed that it is a possibility for him to go TC rush. Okay, if you make barracks first building you make, that's called a counter cheese. You're cheesing as much as possible in order to stop the cheese, and if he doesn't do it, you lose. That is no good way to deal with it. I did make big concessions though. I went 6 on food, and then I went the rest on lumber so that I would have enough lumber in order to make a barracks if needed. My house was a little early, but that doesn't make a difference because you always make a house in the first 10 pop anyway. That was an adaptation. And then another concession I made is scout straight to his base. That means I don't have as many sheep inside of my base. And that means I'm going to have less food generation as time goes on. I don't have as much knowledge about the lay of the land. I was lucky to find the boar or a deer field. In this case, boar was actually the best with that proxy villager group. But I think you kind of have to. And then if you see, okay, they're playing it normally, they're gathering golds and stuff, then you quickly restore your economy to normalcy. Keep in mind that this rush can come as early as 1:30. I'm going to restart the game to actually check when he was coming. I need to restart the game to watch the replay. And I'll answer questions in chat momentarily, but first I want to make sure that I get this in one complete package that kind of, as much to myself to prove it as to others, whether this is a valid way to stop it. And of course, I had prescience, pre-knowledge that he was Mongols because I looked at his match history. You're not always going to be that lucky. I picked the Chinese because they're really good against this since you can build buildings very rapidly. It's going to be harder with different factions, with other factions. In this case, I went for the Chinese. I would still have to do a guide on how to stop it with other factions and to see whether indeed this is a sustainable way to stop it. So let's look at the details together. I want to point out as well that he went for a different unit type than is usual. He didn't go for the Dark Age early horseman, he went for the spearman. But I don't think that was actually a bad idea. He saw that I made numerous scouts, which are on horseback, therefore spearmen do bonus damage to the scouts. He also would recognize that the only thing that I can make besides scouts is spearmen, therefore those spearmen are going to counter any horsemen that he makes. as such, I do think both my flow and his flow was correct, even though the other 2 times, oh, he made a big mistake, he's got 5 idle villagers. So that slows him down a bit, right? Even though the other 2 times that I faced TC Rush from Mongols, they did it with horsemen, I do believe he made a valid adaptation. Though where the hell was his con? I feel like he lost it and never sent it again. That's his mistake. Again, I'll answer Q&A in a bit. There are so many questions. I'd love to answer them all, but I want to make sure I get this condensed. Now, this rush can come as quickly as 1 minute 30, as far as I know. They get the upgrade right away, superior mobility, and indeed it finishes at 127. That's typically when they pack up. So it depends on the map size and your proximity to the opponent, exactly how it's going to play out. So let's say at this time, 146, even on some of the bigger maps, you should be aware that they're coming and they should be coming. So what position am I in? Let's say that if he hadn't done it. By this time I know he's done it, right? And even on a bigger map like Black Forest, I will know by this time whether he's done it or not. The later he comes, the worse it is, so there you go. So what have I got and what have I done so far in my own base? Well, I started mining sheep. I started gathering from sheep. And I didn't actually bring back many sheep because of the nature of the game in how this kind of rush is possible. And what I did is I pulled all of my villagers to lumber. We're just going to restart this to see exactly when I did that. Let's say that the earliest you can find out whether they're doing it is at 125. And the latest you find out is at 145. I think that's probably a reasonable estimate. And again, this may not be the best possible iteration of the rush by him. That's something to keep in mind as well. But here we go. We bring back 1, 2, 3 sheep. Keep in mind there's 2 sheep here, and I open with lumber camp. Now, early game Age of Empires economy actually allows for a bit of flexibility. A traditional opener with the Chinese or the French, the way I age up at 230, 240, 250, usual time, is 6 on food. Then you send 1, make mining camp here, your next new villager, your 7th villager. Then you send the 8th villager to make a sawmill. You'll see variations on this. Sometimes people go 6, 7, 8, 1 on gold, 2nd on gold, and then another on lumber, which is essentially your 11th, and then the next on lumber, which is essentially your 12th villager. And then when you have enough gold, you pull them off, and then you pull a few off of food in order to make the landmark. This is possible, but I haven't seen any obvious downsides for switching up the flow, and here's why. Eventually, you need 400 food and 200 gold. That is your goal for H2. It doesn't matter in which order you get it. Any gold you get right now is wasted because you're not using it. All you need to do is to bridge the gap from 100 gold to 200 gold by the 2 minute 30 mark, 2 minute 40 or 250, kind of depends on your faction. Likewise, lumber is not required for aging up, but can be useful for adapting and making certain civilization-specific buildings like the Abbasid or the Delhi. They've got a lumber spend in some of their early buildings that they could get. Doesn't mean you have to get them, but you could. Also, most builds don't include a mill, but a mill can have some benefits. Maybe for Abbasid or for Delhi once again. And you may not need it here. But I don't see a lot of downsides of going 6 on food, 1 on lumber, and then the next on gold. Now here is where my build deviated from the standard and from the ideal. I also sent my extra 2 villagers to lumber. Here's how I would normally do it. 6 on gold, 1 to lumber, then the next 2 to mining camp, then another on food, 7, 1, 2 would be my split. 7, 1, 2, and then maybe more on lumber. However, if I decide to get gold against Mongol at all, I think I'm dead against this rush. The 50 spent for the mining camp and the wasted gold. That's where I make my concession, and that's how I slow myself down, which is why in this game I said, well, let's go for a small concession. I want to be behind in a macro game, and if I am, that's okay. I'll just take it from there. At least I'm not losing to this cheese. And that's how you have to play the game when a very prevalent cheese is available. So I scout him at 118, and basically at this time, 121, I already knew it's coming. Now again, on other maps, it's going to be like 130, 140. So I immediately pull villagers, start getting wood instead. and then that affords me to make the barracks. Here was a novel idea, making multiple scouts. Scouts, of course, against buildings have a fire attack, a torch attack of 20 damage. And that can help. I've already done 200 damage, and any damage ends up helping. I think the biggest mistake I made was when I tried to bum rush it with villagers, pikes, and horsemen. That ended up not working out. So I thought with multiple scouts I can have multiple blockers. It is probably unsustainable to build houses everywhere. There's just too much surface area to block. I blocked certain areas. The barracks in the house here means that he can't park his town center here, which can be helpful, but you can never block everything. So yeah, you need to have multiple places to defend. And in this case I went for the horseman, which made him sometimes route to attack the scouts. And I think that was probably a pretty big mistake. It gave me bonus lumber. I'll have to face this again to see whether it's sustainable in the long run. But, well, we stopped it once at least, and we'll try to stop it again. I don't know if this is the right amount of scouts, whether you should do this at all, because his speed upgrade means he can outrun scouts. Yep. That's all I have to say for now. Hopefully you can use some of the tricks that you saw in this game to stop your own TC rush. If you find a better way to do it, make sure to tell me on Twitch or leave it in the YouTube comments, and I'll try to test it as well. See you next time.